I'm Huon Hooke, and this is The Real Review. The wine we're tasting today is the Heirloom Vineyards Alcazar Castle, Adelaide Hills Pinot Noir 2019. Heirloom Vineyards is one of the many projects of a very energetic man called Zar Brooks and his wife Elena, who is the winemaker. They are a force to be reckoned with. Zar Brooks, I've known him for a long time. He started off at Wirra Wirra. He's a marketing man rather than a winemaker. He was a very esteemed and senior wine show judge for quite a while. He's retired from that now. He's been involved in many projects in South Australia. Zonti's Footstep, he and Eleanor are part owners of Zonti's, and there is Dandelion Vineyards, which is probably the one they're best noted for, and they are part owners of that as well. But this one, which is called Heirloom Vineyards, is their own business, and they take grapes from the Barossa, Eden Valley, Adelaide Hills, McLaren Vale and Coonawarra. So they're taking grapes from the regions which suit those grape varieties the best to try and make the best wine they can. Zar also makes wine in Spain. He has a wine there called, I think it's called Cien y Pico, if my pronunciation is correct. You might find that if you really hunt very keenly for it. Alcazar Castle is the name of this vineyard, and I frankly don't know which part of the hills it's in, but they think it's their best vineyard for Pinot Noir in the Adelaide Hills, partly because of the way the grapes are grown. They approve of the viticulture of this vineyard, and the clones that they use in this vineyard are particularly good clones according to them. They're not telling us what clones they are, but of course Pinot Noir is a very variable clonal grape variety. And this is their top wine. This is their $80 wine. They do about 3 Pinot Noirs from the Heirloom Vineyards label. This is a new release, and it's always hard to tell with these wines which is the front label, so I'm going to rotate it and show you the back label now. Beautiful front labels, but the back label is where all the information is. So how does this wine taste, this Adelaide Hills Pinot Noir? Let me just give it a swirl in the glass. We're using the larger plum glass this time, which is the red wine glass under the Series 3 from Plum. Nice colour. It's still got a tinge of purple to it. It's got quite good depth of colour and nice viscosity in the glass. You can tell that there's a bit of substance in this wine. The bouquet, very complex. There's a lot of whole bunch, what I would call whole bunch character there. Those are the vegetal spectrum of aromas, some spice, some licorice, some cloves. Really quite a multifaceted aroma. Plums, certainly a touch of spicy, smoky character from the oak there as well. The smokiness particularly comes from the oak, but it's not over oak by any stretch of the imagination. So Pinot Noir is rarely a full-bodied wine, but I would say this is a medium to full style of Pinot Noir from the Adelaide Hills. Plenty of intensity, good richness, fills the mouth, lovely soft, silky texture, long finish. It's much more than just simple fruit. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of winemaking complexity being introduced into this wine, but the fruit is intense enough and powerful enough to carry all of that without it dominating. So it's not completely dominated by the stalk character or by oak or by anything else. It's very much a Pinot Noir. There's a lot of pinosity, as they say in the game. It's a beautiful wine, really, really good indeed. How did we score the wine? Well, we scored it 94 out of 100, which is very close to a gold ribbon score, and that didn't stop it getting a very high ranking. It got number 4 ranking out of 34 Pinot Noirs from that vintage from the Adelaide Hills, 2019 vintage from the Adelaide Hills, and that earned it a top rank recommendation from The Real Review. So a very, very good result for them. We've recommended drinking this wine from now until 2032, another 12 years. That's, I think, a fairly safe margin. It'll last longer than that, and it's probably drinking as well as it will ever drink in the next 2 or 3 years, but no problem for it going 10 years. a really, really good wine. So we asked the winemakers, Zara and Eleanor Brooks, to recommend what they would prefer to serve with this wine. And no surprises, duck was the answer. But they would like to serve it with what they've described as duck with rhubarb beets and Asian greens. I'm not quite sure what they mean by rhubarb beets, but presumably you cook the rhubarb and you cook the beet. And both of those things would go beautifully if they were cooked and served alongside duck. So I think that's a really interesting idea, and I'm probably going to try it myself. Anyway, all I can say is good health.